Floch Forster is among some of the most hated characters in Attack on Titan, and for very good reason. Betraying Hange and the military to join Eren Yeager, killing people who would even dare besmirch the name of his great leader, Floch has dedicated his heart to the dream of a world flattened by the oppressive force of global genocide, and boy, does he actually look pretty good doing it. The truth is that, much like Gabby Braun, for example, the hate for this character significantly underscores the sheer brilliance that is Floch. So, this is the underappreciated brilliance of Floch's character. Let's get into it. Real quick, I'd like to inform everyone that at 1,500 followers on Twitter, I will hold a giveaway on this channel right here. I post all kinds of stuff there on Twitter, and it's a great way to stay up to date on what I'm doing, but as well, the best way to interact with me and help support and grow the channel. So be sure to follow me over on Twitter. With that out of the way, back to the video. It's important to start from the beginning with Floch, as to see how much this character has changed so subtly and rather drastically. One day in the garrison, John and the rest of the Survey Corps are eating when he makes a comment about how the only excited transfers are those with zero practical experience. Something he's noticed, as there aren't many veterans around and thus can pick them out of a crowd due to their excitement and sunny dispositions. This catches the ear of one Floch Forster, who transferred to the 104th on the basis that the Survey Corps were short-handed and needed extra soldiers. Floch mirrors in many ways the excitement of humanity at the time, what with the success that the Survey Corps was having. Though Floch notices something himself, it's something in their eyes. They've changed, and John asks if he would like to know. Floch turns him down, but this is our base for Floch. He's just a pretty normal soldier, pretty much. Little did he know what Erwin had planned for him and the rest of his comrades. This leads us to the battle which would change Floch forever. The Battle of Shinganshina. On foot, Floch and the rest of the soldiers enter Shinganshina for the first time in a very long time. Their goal is simple: retake Shinganshina and figure out what the hell is inside that cellar. Quickly, Armin warns the rest of the Survey Corps that the Titan shifters always use out-of-box tactics to get the jump on the rest of them. This is proven when Reiner jumps out of a hole from within the wall and takes out a soldier. This is quickly followed up by Levi stabbing him through the neck, but it isn't enough, and to combine that with Bertolt and Zeke's Beast Titan entering the fray, the Battle of Shinganshina is underway. Floch and his group are directly ordered to protect the horses at all costs, as the hail of rocks starts from the Beast Titan, eviscerating squads of soldiers into bits. Captain Levi orders them to fall back towards the wall to protect the horses from the flurry of offense from Zeke and the Beast Titan. But Floch panics, shades of the Battle of Trost from Season 1, where many soldiers were left petrified from the sheer amount of chaos and horror that the Titans have over humans. Things only get bad to worse, as Erwin informs what's left of the Survey Corps that squads Dirk, Marlene, and Klaus were all wiped out by the Beast Titan. With Erwin's plan now ruined, he only has one option left to salvage the retaking of Shinganshina. This is important in establishing that Floch is just like all of the other soldiers previously in the series. He's just a normal person who's now dealing with something so out of his element. While this is happening, Floch breaks down and laments ever joining the Survey Corps. Now that 3 squads were wiped out in an instant, Floch feels that the point of fighting this battle is useless. He knows what comes next, which is their death by the end of the day, the ultimate sacrifice for humanity. Thinking back, to him, all of this made sense. If humanity were to stay inside the walls, then one day they'd fall to the Titans, which dwelled outside them. So when hearing the words of the recruiter, it gave him a purpose to go out and be one of the proud few who would fight so that others didn't have to. It's just that there was a hitch in Floch's logic. He didn't know that his death would be so meaningless. And now witnessing firsthand so many of his fellow soldiers die, he believed that he was the fool for thinking his life would be any different. Floch has shattered into a million pieces, like a mirror. This ideal he built up within his head was nothing but a lie, at least for him. But there is one man who may be able to fix that broken mirror. With only one option left, Erwin has to give up his dream of ever knowing what's inside the basement and sacrifice all of the Survey Corps in an attempt to take down the Beast Titan. Before heading into battle, Floch asks Erwin if it is alright to disobey the orders to charge and to flee, to which he says yes. But more importantly, Erwin reminds Floch and the others that their deaths, whether they believe it to be meaningless or unfairly cut short, still means something. The memories of their lives, their dutiful sacrifices to save humanity, and those which came before them. This is not some meaningless action to serve a government or people. This is the life and death of humanity as they know it, and their deaths will serve as examples for the future generations who will find meaning in their sacrifices. It's their duty, after all, to fight and die on the battlefield. Erwin, at this moment, became something more, something necessary to fight the evil of Marley. Erwin became the opposition's devil. Their sacrifices meant something. Levi was able to take down the Beast Titan and capture Zeke. While requiring a heavy loss, the sole survivors of the charge are Levi, Erwin, and Floch. Wandering around the battlefield, he discovers a mortally wounded Erwin Smith and brings him back to where Levi and what's left of the Survey Corps are. There is a decision that now has to be made. Erwin, the head of the Survey Corps and savior for humanity, or the life of Armin, brilliant tactician who was key in planning some of their biggest victories. While Erwin and Mikasa stand on the side of saving Armin, Floch chooses Erwin, because in his mind, he was the one that roused everyone to charge, and his 1 in a million shot paid off and worked. Erwin was successful in bringing down the Beast Titan, and for that reason, Floch feels that the only person that can defeat the Titans is a demon, and his purpose for living was this moment. But it is Armin who is chosen to live by Erwin himself, once again shattering Floch. This is the moment I believe Floch changed to the person that he is now. After miraculously surviving hell, his reward is to watch his commander, the one who gave him a meaningful death right in front of his eyes, die. To make matters worse, the man chosen was Armin, who never showed the guts, the bravery, the tenacity to face a decision, no matter how right or wrong it was. Later after the battle, when they're at a ceremony honoring the fallen and those that survived, Floch tells Hitch the truth about what happened on the battlefield. More specifically, that Marlowe, while fighting honorably until the end, probably still regretted being there. This is true, as moments before Marlowe's death, he realized that his place was not on the battlefield, but with Hitch. This does not sit well with John, and when Armin arrives, he tells Floch that he knows he chose Erwin over himself. On top of that, everyone knows that the better choice was Erwin too. I mean, everyone who read the reports agreed. They were all unanimous. Though, this does not stop Erwin from trying to fight back in Armin's honor. Floch stops him and scolds Erwin for being childish because of this. For Floch, it was about telling the truth, no matter how much it hurt. Going out onto that field and charging forward for humanity, he feels that a weakling like himself should have been told what the reality of all of this was. But even so, even if he was weak and useless, his opinion should still be valued here. Armin relates to this because both have survivor's guilt. And if you're not familiar, this occurs when people who survive a life-threatening situation feel guilty that they survived, believing that it should have been them to die, not the people that did. Floch, as much as Armin, is suffering from that guilt. It wasn't Floch who should have survived, but Erwin, as he was cowardly and Erwin was brave. After all, he saw firsthand the way Floch acted under duress. Though the reality is that Floch was just as brave as any of those men and women. He didn't hide, he didn't run. He charged just like all of the others, and by random chance, he was the only survivor. Years before the invasion of Liberio, Floch arranges for Erwin to make contact with Yelena, who explains Zeke's plan of euthanizing all Eldians using the power of the founding Titan. After this meeting, Erwin confides in Floch his true plan. which is to act like he's following Yelena and Zeke's, but in reality, Erwin plans to unleash the rumbling on the world, which Floch agrees to, and so begins what is the birth of the Yaegerists. I do find this relationship interesting, as prior Floch would call Erwin childish and even somewhat blame him for Erwin's death, but it's in this moment that Floch sees something in Erwin he hadn't seen prior: a devil. Floch's idea of a true leader is someone who will do what must be done to defeat the Titans and Marley, and that requires a devil. Erwin's plan is exactly something Floch would believe in, and it's that plan which gets Floch on board. What's great about this is that in Liberio, when John argues with Floch about civilian casualties, Floch states just this. This would eventually lead to Floch and Erwin forming the Yaegerist faction, which would stage a coup and overthrow Paradis's military, gaining control of the island. Floch is someone who, while a total asshole in every sense of the word, is someone who has a lot of justification for what he believes in. This is a common theme of Attack on Titan, with many characters who are justified in the ways that they feel. Gabby Braun, Eren Yeager, etc. These are all people who we can see and relate to where they're coming from on some level. In the case of Floch, we see a man broken by the reality of war and the fragility of not only his life, but just the meaning of it. Floch joining the Survey Corps never wanted his life to be meaningless, and thus, after surviving the charge of the Beast Titan, it completely shattered his mind. The devil that was supposed to lead humanity to victory instead chose Armin of all people, and all he could do was sit back and watch, just like how he watched all of his friends and comrades die moments prior in a death charge. So, when Erwin told Floch of his plan, he realized that Erwin wasn't the child that he thought he was. Erwin is the second coming of the devil they needed all along, and he will facilitate that devil, no matter the cost, no matter if he must become a devil himself in the process. The reality is that Floch Forster will do anything for the survival of his people. He was there in Liberio to ensure they were successful. Floch and his men were there to beat Gabby and Falco after Sasha was murdered. Floch never fled when given the chance, even from his own death. He knew what needed to be done, and so he does exactly what will make his dream become a reality: the safety of Paradis and its people. He's a slave to his beliefs. Now, this is fascinating because of the person Floch has become, his ideals, his belief, his actions. They're not that different from Erwin, because both would do anything and everything to keep moving forward and protect those who could not be protected. Erwin made the tough decisions. He sacrificed himself and his soldiers, knowing full well what that would mean. Floch would do the same. But here is the key to why people hate Floch so much, and well, their key difference. Erwin wouldn't try to justify his actions in the murder or wrongdoings he's committed. Unlike Floch, that would weigh on Erwin's shoulders heavily, because while realizing there wasn't a better path, he knew full well that it would be their only option, and if he could take the better path, he would, so no one would die. In other words, Erwin kept his morals in the face of his devilish actions, but never lost his way and became a devil himself. Here is the reality. Floch is justified for helping to overthrow and create the Yaegerists. In a moment when the world needed action against the oppressive forces of Marley, the military simply failed the people. A revolution was necessary for that of Paradis, and that's one thing we can all say was the correct thing to do. When a military isn't acting for its people, someone has to step in. Humanity had no other choice, because Marley wasn't giving them an option. It was the extermination of all life on Paradis or Marley's death. When dealing with such extremes, such opposition, and this kind of scale of war, the only option was what Floch did to become the ultimate evil, the devil of Paradis. Because much like Erwin Smith, who became a devil to fight for Paradis, Erwin became a devil by unleashing the rumbling to stop Marley. Because what other choice did Eren Yeager have? Floch, on the other hand, is a hypocrite. A liar. He will kill the supporters who brought the Yaegerists their power and position, babbling on about what it means to be truly free. That word though, free. What is Floch's definition? He believes freedom is living under a leader who allows you to live, only because you didn't slander the oh-so-great genocidal leader, Eren Yeager. Floch justifies what Erwin can't. Floch kills his people that Erwin vowed to protect. Floch overthrows the government and military that Erwin helped proliferate and grow. Floch will do what is necessary to win, even if it means destroying and corrupting what Erwin Smith and the rest of the Survey Corps established. The Yaegerists, Eren Yeager, Floch Forster, these people are the devils of Paradis. But you know what? That's what makes Floch's character brilliant. Floch's hypocritical nature, his willingness to out-evil Marley. When you juxtapose these evalities with the realization that Floch and Eren are humanity's only chance of survival, you realize how truly multifaceted Floch is. He may be one of the most complex villains in all of Attack on Titan, and in fact, could be the best. While Gabby Braun surely gets a lot of unneeded hate, Floch is the one character to whom I think people are reacting to correctly. Floch is justified, but he is also unforgivable, undeniably evil, an unequivocal asshole. But he's brilliant, he's layered, and because of that, Floch is underappreciated as a character. I'd like to give a big shout out and thank you to my newly revamped YouTube memberships, Member, Crusader, and Patreon backers, Malice in Wonderland, and Stephen M. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my video on Gabby Braun's redemption arc, and as well, on the left, my channel analysis video on Vladilena Milize from '86. Thanks for watching, bye-bye.